I held my daughter's hand as cancer stole her last breath. "Daddy," she whispered, "promise me you'll finally buy that beach house we dreamed about." Today, 1 year after burying her, I kept that promise. Then my son-in-law called. "Old man, we're taking over. She would have wanted me to have it." That's when I realized he'd been waiting for her to die all along. The Atlantic breeze carried salt and jasmine through the open windows of my Nantucket estate as I unwrapped the last of my mother's china. Each piece had waited 60 years for a home worthy of her memory. My hands trembled, not from age, but from the overwhelming reality that after 4 decades of sacrifice, I'd finally made it. The view from Lighthouse Point stretched across Nantucket Sound like a masterpiece painted by heaven itself. $3.2 million. Every penny earned through nights I'd missed tucking my daughter Seraphina into bed. Weekends spent in sterile office buildings while other fathers taught their children to ride bicycles. Then my phone shattered the sacred silence. "Listen up, Aldrich!" Ryland's voice slithered through the speaker like venom. No greeting, no respect, just that tone. The one that made my deceased daughter's name feel like a weapon he'd sharpened against my conscience. "We're already on our way, old man." My chest tightened. "Ryland, what are you—" 23 of us. My hedge fund partners, their families. You've got that massive estate now. Time to share the wealth. Seraphina always said you'd take care of family." Seraphina. My angel who died believing this man loved her. "I haven't even unpacked." 40 minutes, Aldrich. Have beds ready, food, everything. And clear out the master suite. Meredith wants the harbor view for her lifestyle blog. The line went dead. I stood frozen, watching paradise transform into a battleground. Through the window I could see dust clouds rising from Milestone Road. They were already coming. My hands found Seraphina's photo on the mantel, the only thing I'd unpacked first. Her soft hazel eyes seemed to whisper, "Daddy, be strong." 23 strangers about to invade the sanctuary I'd bled for. Ryland knew I'd never called anyone for help, never complained, never fought back. He counted on it. But something deep inside me, something that had been dormant since Seraphina's funeral, suddenly roared to life. If Seraphina's story touches your soul, if you understand a father's grief after losing his only child to cancer at 32, please take a moment to subscribe. She would have wanted her story heard. Click subscribe now. Don't let her memory fade into silence. "Not this time," I whispered to her photo. "Not in our home." I pulled out my phone, fingers steady now with purpose. 3 numbers that would change everything. 911. "Emergency services? What's your—" "I need police at Lighthouse Point immediately. 23 people are about to forcibly enter my home." As sirens began their distant wail, I heard the first cars screeching into my crushed shell driveway. Ryland's voice boomed across my paradise like thunder before a storm. "Aldrich, open up! Time to stop being selfish!" But I wasn't being selfish. For the first time in my life, I was being something else entirely. I was being free.
Through my security camera, I watched my son-in-law tell his mistress, "The old fool owes us. I watched his precious daughter die for 2 years. That's worth millions." That's when I knew. While I held Seraphina through chemo, he was calculating her worth like a stock option. The antique door, hand-carved oak from a Salem shipwright shop, shook under Ryland's fist. Each blow felt personal, deliberate, designed to remind me who held power in our twisted relationship. "Aldrich!" His voice carried that familiar edge of entitlement wrapped in false concern. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Think about what Seraphina would want." Through the beveled glass, I watched them multiply like locusts. Ryland's business partner, Prescott, unloaded coolers of champagne. A woman I'd never seen before, designer athleisure, oversized sunglasses, was already live streaming from my fountain. Guys, you won't believe this Nantucket estate. My boyfriend's family is absolutely loaded. Children ran screaming through my heritage rose garden, trampling bushes I'd transplanted from Seraphina's childhood home in Charleston. Their parents watched, laughing, phones out, documenting their conquest of my privacy. I opened the door, not in surrender, but to maintain some illusion of control. Ryland pushed past me like I was furniture. There he is. See, Meredith? I told you the old man would come around. Meredith, the woman he'd started dating 3 months after my daughter's death. She floated past me in a cloud of synthetic perfume, her acrylic nails already reaching for my walls, testing their worth. Oh my God, Ryland, this foyer alone is bigger than our entire Boston apartment. Our apartment, the one I paid for, thinking I was helping my daughter's grieving husband stay afloat. They flooded in, a tsunami of strangers treating my sanctuary like a conquered territory. Someone had already found my sound system. EDM thundered through rooms meant for Mozart. Champagne flutes appeared on my grandmother's secretary desk. Wet footprints tracked across Persian rugs that had survived the Revolutionary War only to be destroyed by entitled strangers. The master bedroom's this way. Meredith had appointed herself tour guide of my own home. Ryland, baby, look at this view. It's perfect for my sunrise yoga content. I followed them to my bedroom, my private sanctuary where Seraphina's last letter sat in the nightstand drawer, unread since the day she died. Stop. My voice cracked. Please, not this room. Ryland turned, and for the first time I saw the real him. Not the charming Harvard MBA who had fooled my daughter, but the predator who had waited 3 years to reveal his true nature. Aldrich. He placed his hand on my shoulder, squeezing just hard enough to hurt. You need to stop being so dramatic. We're family, remember? Or have you forgotten what Seraphina meant to us? Us. As if his 3-year marriage gave him equal claim to my 32 years of raising her. She was my daughter. Was she? Because her real father would honor her memory by taking care of her husband. Instead, you're hoarding wealth while we struggle. The lie was so breathtaking I nearly laughed. Struggle? I'd paid for her MBA, their wedding, their cars, their life. $470,000 over 5 years, each check written with diminishing hope that he'd finally stand on his own feet. Prescott appeared with reinforcements, more strangers carrying Louis Vuitton luggage, claiming bedrooms, planning their 3-week vacation in my home. Mr. Castellane, where do you keep the beach towels? Said one of them, not even bothering to look at me. If you've ever felt powerless in your own home, if you understand this violation of a grieving father's sanctuary, please, Seraphina would want you to share this story. Hit subscribe and that notification bell. Don't let them silence stories like hers. Through the chaos, I heard them. Sirens, growing louder. My hand found my phone in my pocket. The 911 operator was still on the line, listening, recording everything. Ryland heard them too. His face shifted from arrogant to uncertain. What did you do, old man? Something I should have done years ago, I replied, watching the first police car crest the cobblestone hill. I chose myself. The doorbell rang. Steady. Official. Backed by the authority Ryland never expected me to invoke. His mask finally slipped completely. You're gonna regret this, Aldrich. I promise you that. But standing there, watching fear creep into his eyes for the first time, I realized something profound. The only thing I regretted was waiting so long.
The officer looked at 23 trespassers, then at me, a 70-year-old man defending his home alone. Sir, she said gently, is this your house? When I nodded, she turned to my son-in-law. Then you're all under arrest. It was the first time in 5 years anyone had taken my side. Officer Reeves stood in my foyer like an answered prayer. Her partner, Officer Thorne, surveyed the chaos, champagne glasses, scattered designer luggage, strangers lounging on my furniture like they'd paid the mortgage. "Mr. Castellane?" Reeves addressed me directly, ignoring Ryland's attempts to interrupt. "You called about trespassers?" "Officer, this is clearly a misunderstanding." Ryland stepped forward with his Wall Street smile, the one that had charmed my daughter into overlooking every red flag. "Sir, I'm speaking with the homeowner." Reeves's tone cut through Ryland's performance. "Mr. Castellane, are these people here with your permission?" 23 faces turned toward me, some confused, others angry, Meredith's camera still rolling, capturing what she probably thought would be viral content about crazy rich relatives. "No." The word came out stronger than I'd felt in years. "I want them all removed immediately." The silence that followed was beautiful. Ryland's mouth opened and closed like a beached fish. Meredith lowered her phone, perhaps realizing she was documenting her own eviction. "This is insane." Prescott stepped forward, champagne still in hand. "We drove 3 hours from Boston. We're family." Officer Thorne pulled out his notebook. "Family members don't have automatic right to occupy someone's property, sir. Mr. Castellane, are you want to press charges for trespassing?" Ryland grabbed my arm. "Aldrich, think about what you're doing. Seraphina—" "Don't." I pulled away, my voice carrying 32 years of suppressed anger. "Don't you dare use my daughter's name while you're stealing from her father." "Stealing?" Meredith's voice pitched high with practiced indignation. "We're just visiting family." "With 23 people? Without asking? Claiming my bedroom?" I turned to the officers. They demanded I prepare food, beds, everything for a 3-week stay, gave me 40 minutes notice. Reeves and Thorne exchanged glances. They'd seen family disputes, but this was something else, a calculated invasion disguised as a reunion. "Everyone needs to gather their belongings and leave immediately," Reeves announced. "Anyone still here in 15 minutes will be arrested." The scramble was immediate and pathetic. The same people who'd strutted in like conquerors now scurried like caught thieves. Someone grabbed the champagne cooler. Children were rounded up from my garden. Meredith frantically collected her makeup lights and phone tripods from my bathroom. But Ryland stood still, his face cycling through disbelief, rage, and finally, cold calculation. "You're making a massive mistake, Aldrich." His voice dropped low enough that only I could hear. "I know things about Seraphina you don't, things that would break your heart. You want to play this game? Fine, but you won't like how it ends." My blood chilled, but I held his gaze. "Whatever lies you're planning, Ryland, remember, I have 5 years of receipts. Every check, every payment, every text message begging for money while you posted photos from the Hamptons. Friends, if you've ever stood up to a bully, if you know the courage it takes for an elderly parent to say no more, please subscribe now. Seraphina's story deserves to be heard. Don't scroll past. She wouldn't have scrolled past you." Officer Thorne stepped between us. "Sir, you need to leave now." Ryland backed away, but his eyes promised war. "You're making a massive mistake, old man. By tomorrow, everyone will know the kind of father you really were. Ask yourself why Seraphina never told you about the bruises." The words hit like shrapnel. "Bruises? My Seraphina never mentioned—" "He's lying," Officer Reeves said quietly after Ryland left. "I've seen this manipulation before. Don't let him rewrite history." Through the window, I watched the convoy of luxury cars flee my property like roaches when the lights turn on. Meredith was crying, real tears this time. Ryland's face through the windshield was a mask of fury. As the last Tesla disappeared down Milestone Road, silence returned to Lighthouse Point. My sanctuary was mine again, but Ryland's threat echoed in the empty rooms. Officer Reeves handed me her card. "If they return, call immediately. And Mr. Castellane, you did the right thing. Don't let anyone tell you different." After they left, I stood in my violated home, surveying the damage. Spilled champagne on my grandmother's rug. Meredith's makeup staining my Italian marble vanity. the lingering stench of entitlement, but also freedom. For the first time since Seraphina's death, I'd said no to Ryland. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but I recognized the threat. Check Facebook, Aldrich. The world's about to meet the real you.
2,000 shares in 3 hours. My son-in-law's post began, "My wife died of cancer believing her father loved her. Today I learned the truth. He loved his money more." But he didn't know I had Seraphina's phone, and on it, 3 years of messages that would destroy him. The laptop screen glowed like a portal to hell. Ryland's post was a masterpiece of manipulation, complete with photos of Meredith crying in their BMW and a carefully edited video of police forcing them from what should have been a family gathering. "Heartbroken and disgusted, my father-in-law, Aldrich Castellane, just called the police on his own family. We drove from Boston with friends and their children, including Seraphina's godchildren, to visit him in his new $3.2 million Nantucket mansion, hoping to heal our family after my dear wife's death from cancer. Instead, he had us arrested like criminals. Money really does change people. Seraphina died believing her father loved her. Today, I learned he only loved his wealth. Please pray for our family. #family betrayal, rich but heartless." The comments were a feeding frenzy. Disgusting! His own daughter's husband! Rich people have no souls. Those poor children, traumatized by their own grandfather. No wonder Seraphina was always so sad in her final months. That last comment made my hands shake. Seraphina? Sad? She'd been in pain, yes, but never sad about our relationship. I scrolled deeper into the nightmare. Ryland had posted old photos, Seraphina at their wedding, looking exhausted. From her first round of chemo, though he didn't mention that. Another of her with bruising on her arms. From the IV lines and blood draws, but the comment section had already decided I was abusive. My phone rang. Constance, Seraphina's best friend from Yale. "I'm so sorry, but I have to ask, did you ever hurt Sarah?" The question shattered something inside me. "Constance, you knew Seraphina for 15 years. You were her maid of honor. How can you ask? Ryland posted medical records. They show bruising, Aldrich, multiple incidents during her childhood." My laptop refreshed. New posts. Ryland had uploaded documents, real medical records from Seraphina's childhood. The broken wrist from sailing camp at 10. The bruised ribs from her equestrian accident at 14. The concussion from lacrosse at Exeter. All real injuries. All with documented causes, but presented without context, they painted a horrifying picture. "Constance, she fell off her horse at Wellington. You were there. You rode with her in the ambulance." Silence. Then quietly, "I'm sorry, Aldrich. With everything Ryland showing, I don't know what to believe anymore." She hung up. Seraphina's best friend, the woman who had spoken at her funeral, now questioned if I'd hurt my baby girl. If you're a parent who's ever been falsely accused, if you understand this special hell of having your love questioned, please subscribe. Share this story. Seraphina deserves to have the truth told. Don't let her memory be destroyed by lies. More notifications flooded in. Ryland had tagged Seraphina's entire memorial page. Former colleagues from my Boston firm, distant relatives, parents from Seraphina's prep school, everyone was seeing this narrative. My phone buzzed with messages ranging from disappointed to disgusted. But then I remembered something. Seraphina's phone. I'd kept it, unable to let go of her voicemails, her photos, our text conversations. And on that phone, I pulled it from my desk drawer, powering it on for the first time since her death. The wallpaper,
us at her Yale graduation, made my eyes water. But I pushed through, opening her message app. There they were, 3 years of texts between Seraphina and Ryland. Messages he didn't know I now possessed. "Ryland, Dad paid your Harvard loans again. Please stop asking him for money." "Your father's loaded, Sarah. Stop being selfish." "He's already given us $400,000. That's nothing. When you're gone, I deserve half his estate. I'm suffering too." When you're gone. Sent while she was in the hospital for treatment. I scrolled deeper, finding worse. "Stop crying about the chemo. Your father needs to see you're strong or he won't trust me with the inheritance. Dad would give you anything if you just showed basic kindness. Kindness doesn't pay for my lifestyle, Sarah." A new notification. Ryland had gone live on Facebook. I clicked, reluctantly. He sat in their Back Bay apartment, the one I'd paid for, with Meredith comforting him. His eyes were red, but I caught the smirk when he thought the camera wasn't on his face. I just want everyone to know the truth about Aldrich Castellane. Seraphina never wanted to burden anyone, but she told me things about her childhood that explain why she was always so anxious around her father. Lies poured from his mouth like sewage, each word carefully chosen to destroy not just me, but Seraphina's memory. He was rewriting her entire life, turning my loving daughter into a victim and himself into her savior. But in his arrogance, Ryland had made a crucial mistake. He'd forgotten about her phone. He'd forgotten about the evidence she'd left behind, including the voice recordings she'd made during her final months.
2,000 shares in 3 hours. My son-in-law's post began, "My wife died of cancer believing her father loved her. Today, I learned the truth. He loved his money more." But he didn't know I had Seraphina's phone, and on it, 3 years of messages that would destroy him. The laptop screen glowed like a portal to hell. Ryland's post was a masterpiece of manipulation, complete with photos of Meredith crying in their BMW and a carefully edited video of police forcing them from what should have been a family gathering. Heartbroken and disgusted, my father-in-law Aldrich Castellane just called the police on his own family. We drove from Boston with friends and their children, including Seraphina's godchildren, to visit him in his new $3.2 million Nantucket mansion, hoping to heal our family after my dear wife's death from cancer. Instead, he had us arrested like criminals. Money really does change people. Seraphina died believing her father loved her. Today I learned he only loved his wealth. Please pray for our family. Prayer hands, broken heart. #family betrayal, rich but heartless. The comments were a feeding frenzy. Disgusting! His own daughter's husband! Rich people have no souls! Those poor children, traumatized by their own grandfather! No wonder Seraphina was always so sad in her final months. That last comment made my hand shake. Seraphina sad? She had been in pain, yes, but never sad about our relationship. I scrolled deeper into the nightmare. Ryland had posted old photos, Seraphina at their wedding, looking exhausted from her first round of chemo, though he didn't mention that. Another of her with bruising on her arms, from the IV lines and blood draws, but the comment section had already decided I was abusive. My phone rang. Constance, Seraphina's best friend from Yale. "Aldrich, I'm sorry, but I have to ask, did you ever hurt Sarah?" The question shattered something inside me. Constance, you knew Seraphina for 15 years. You were her maid of honor. How can you ask? Ryland posted medical records. They show bruising, Aldrich, multiple incidents during her childhood. My laptop refreshed.
New posts. Ryland had uploaded documents, real medical records from Seraphina's childhood, the broken wrist from sailing camp at 10, the bruised ribs from her equestrian accident at 14, the concussion from lacrosse at Exeter. All real injuries, all with documented causes, but presented without context, they painted a horrifying picture. Constance, she fell off her horse at Wellington. You were there. You rode with her in the ambulance. Silence. Then quietly, I'm sorry, Aldrich. With everything Ryland is showing, I don't know what to believe anymore. She hung up. Seraphina's best friend, the woman who'd spoken at her funeral, now questioned if I'd hurt my baby girl. If you're a parent who's ever been falsely accused, if you understand this special hell of having your love questioned, please subscribe now. Hit that notification bell. Share this story. Don't let Seraphina's memory be destroyed by lies. More notifications flooded in. Ryland had tagged Seraphina's entire memorial page. Former colleagues from my Boston firm, distant relatives, parents from Seraphina's prep school, everyone was seeing this narrative. My phone buzzed with messages ranging from disappointed to disgusted. But then I remembered something. Seraphina's phone. I'd kept it, unable to let go of her voicemails, her photos, our text conversations. And on that phone, I pulled it from my desk drawer, powering it on for the first time since her death. The wallpaper, us at her Yale graduation, made my eyes water. But I pushed through, opening her message app. There they were. 3 years of texts between Seraphina and Ryland, messages he didn't know I now possessed. Ryland, Dad paid your Harvard loans again. Please stop asking him for money. Your father's loaded, Sarah. Stop being selfish. He's already given us $400,000. That's nothing. When you're gone, I deserve half his estate. I'm suffering too. When you're gone. Sent while she was in the hospital for treatment. I scrolled deeper, finding worse. Stop crying about the chemo. Your father needs to see you're strong, or he won't trust me with the inheritance. Dad would give you anything if you just showed basic kindness. Kindness doesn't pay for my lifestyle, Sarah. A new notification. Ryland had gone live on Facebook. I clicked reluctantly. He sat in their Back Bay apartment, the one I'd paid for, with Meredith comforting him. His eyes were red, but I caught the smirk when he thought the camera wasn't on his face. I just want everyone to know the truth about Aldrich Castellane. Seraphina never wanted to burden anyone, but she told me things about her childhood that explain why she was always so anxious around her father. Lies poured from his mouth like sewage, each word carefully chosen to destroy not just me, but Seraphina's memory. He was rewriting her entire life, turning my loving daughter into a victim and himself into her savior. But in his arrogance, Ryland had made a crucial mistake. He'd forgotten about her phone. He'd forgotten about the evidence she'd left behind, including the voice recordings she'd made during her final months.
The prosecutor played my daughter's final recording in court. When the jury heard Seraphina say through tears, "He hit me again today, but I'm too weak from chemo to fight back," 11 jurors cried. The 12th, she was a cancer survivor. She asked to speak with me after. Her daughter was married to someone just like Ryland. Tuesday morning, Suffolk Superior Court, Criminal Division. The courtroom gallery overflowed with people who'd followed the story online. Seraphina's Yale classmates, my former partners, reporters from the Globe and Herald, and dozens of domestic violence survivors drawn to this tale of justice from beyond the grave. Ryland entered in an orange jumpsuit, his Harvard confidence finally shattered. His attorney, a public defender after his assets were frozen, looked overwhelmed by the mountain of evidence. Meredith had fled to California the day the arrest warrant was issued, abandoning him the moment his money dried up. The prosecutor, ADA Catherine Winters, had built her career on domestic violence cases, but she told me Seraphina's recordings were the most comprehensive evidence she'd ever seen. Your Honor, we have 63 audio recordings of Ryland Hawthorne physically and emotionally abusing his terminally ill wife. We have video evidence of assault. We have proof of systematic financial fraud exceeding $470,000, and we have evidence that Mr. Hawthorne expressed desire for his wife to die quickly so he could inherit. She played Seraphina's recordings for the court. The gallery gasped, some crying openly as Ryland's voice filled the room, casual and cruel. "Just die already, Sarah. Do you know how much your treatment is costing me?" Then the sound of impact, Seraphina's cry of pain, and her whispered, "January 20th, 11:47 p.m. He just threw me against the bedroom wall. I can barely stand." I watched Ryland shrink in his chair. Without his Wall Street network, his Harvard pedigree, his carefully constructed image, he was nothing, just a coward who'd beaten a dying woman. His attorney attempted a defense. "Your Honor, my client was under tremendous stress, caring for a terminally ill spouse." "Caring?" ADA Winters interrupted. "We have credit card records showing Mr. Hawthorne spent $67,000 on vacations with his mistress while his wife was hospitalized. He withdrew $30,000 from their joint account during her final chemotherapy session. He was at a Celtics game when she coded and nearly died." The judge, Harold Brennan, had a reputation for harsh sentences in domestic violence cases. His own sister had been a victim. As he reviewed the evidence, his expression darkened with each page. "Mr. Hawthorne, in 30 years on the bench, I've never seen such calculated cruelty toward a dying spouse. Do you have anything to say before the jury deliberates?" Ryland stood, and for a moment I saw him consider another performance. Then his shoulders slumped. "She was supposed to die in 6 months. The doctors said 6 months. She lived for 2 years. Do you understand what that did to my plans?" The gallery erupted. The judge hammered for order. Several jurors looked physically ill. But I just stared at Ryland, finally seeing him clearly. He wasn't just cruel, he was evil. The jury deliberated for 17 minutes, guilty on all charges. If you believe in justice, if you think Seraphina's bravery deserves recognition, please, I'm begging you, subscribe and share this channel. Every share means another person learns the warning signs of abuse. Don't let her death be meaningless. Subscribe now. Mr. Hawthorne, you're hereby sentenced to 25 years in prison, 15 for aggravated assault and domestic violence resulting in severe bodily harm, 10 for elder abuse and fraud, sentences to run consecutively. As bailiffs cuffed Ryland, he looked at me one last time. "She never loved you, Aldrich. She told me you were weak." "No," I replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. "She loved me enough to spend her dying months protecting me from you. Even facing death, she was stronger than you'll ever be." Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded me, but I only wanted to speak to one person, the juror who'd asked to meet me. "Mr. Castellane, I'm Patricia Morse." She was about 50, dignified but worn. "I survived cancer and an abusive marriage. Your daughter's recordings, they saved my daughter. She heard Seraphina's story and finally left her husband yesterday. He was just like Ryland." We stood there, two parents who'd watched their daughters suffer, finding solace in shared understanding. Seraphina would be glad. She'd want her pain to help others. "I'm starting a foundation for cancer patients experiencing domestic violence. Would you consider helping?" That evening, I returned to Lighthouse Point. The sunset painted Nantucket Sound in shades of gold and rose, and I stood on my deck, feeling Seraphina's presence in the salt breeze. My phone buzzed. A notification from the victim's compensation fund. Ryland's assets had been liquidated. The Back Bay apartment, his car, his investment accounts, everything would go toward restitution. But money had never been the point. Justice was. Another message appeared, this one from Constance. "Aldrich, we've raised $50,000 for the Seraphina Castellani Foundation in just 6 hours. Her story is everywhere.
Women are leaving abusive relationships because of her courage. I pulled out my laptop and began typing. The Seraphina Castellani Foundation, providing safe housing, legal support, and medical care for cancer patients experiencing domestic violence. Because no one should have to choose between life-saving treatment and life-threatening relationships. I pledged the first $2 million. My company could spare it, and Seraphina would understand, turning our pain into someone else's salvation. As stars emerged over the Atlantic, I felt something shift. The estate no longer felt empty. It felt like a beginning.
500 women stood in my garden, each holding a candle for Seraphina. But the one who broke my heart completely was at the back. A young mother with stage 3 breast cancer, holding her daughter's hand. "Your daughter saved us," she whispered. "Her story gave me courage to leave before he killed me." 1 year had passed since Ryland's conviction. He'd been transferred to maximum security after attacking another inmate who'd called him a wife-beater. But Ryland was yesterday's news. What mattered was what grew from Seraphina's ashes. The Seraphina Castellane Foundation's first annual gala transformed Lighthouse Point into a beacon of hope. The estate I'd bought for solitude now hosted hundreds of survivors, advocates, doctors, and donors who'd turned my daughter's suffering into a movement. "Mr. Castellane," a young woman approached, pale from chemo, beautiful despite the headscarf. "I'm Elizabeth Thornton. I needed to thank you, to thank Seraphina." Her story came in halting sentences. Diagnosed with lung cancer at 28. Husband became abusive when she got sick. Controlled her medication, isolated her from family, told her she was worthless now that she was broken. I saw Seraphina's story on the news, heard her recordings. It was like listening to my own life. That night, while he slept, I packed one bag and went to the shelter your foundation funds. That was 8 months ago. I'm in remission now, free and in remission. Friends, if Elizabeth's courage moves you, if you understand that Seraphina's death is saving lives, please subscribe. Share this story. Every view helps fund the foundation. Don't scroll away. Be part of this life-saving mission. Constance approached with a tablet showing the foundation's first-year impact. 127 women safely housed, 89 legal cases funded, 34 convictions achieved, 12 new shelters opened across New England. "Aldrich, someone wants to speak with you." She gestured toward an elegant woman by the rose garden. I approached cautiously. The woman turned. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. "Mr. Castellane, I'm Margaret Hawthorne, Ryland's mother." My body tensed. "Mrs. Hawthorne, please, let me speak." Tears streamed down her carefully made-up face. "I failed your daughter. I knew what my son was. I'd seen signs since he was young. The cruelty to animals, the lies, the charm that never reached his eyes. I made excuses, got him help that didn't work, covered up his problems with money and connections." She pulled out an envelope with shaking hands. "This is my divorce settlement from Ryland's father, $8 million. I can't undo what my son did, but maybe this can help others escape men like him. Men I helped create by enabling him." 8 million. It would fund the foundation for 3 years, build 5 new shelters, save hundreds of lives. "Seraphina would forgive you," I said quietly. She always believed in redemption. As the gala continued, I found myself on the Widow's Walk, where I'd scattered some of Seraphina's ashes. The moon cast silver across the ocean, and I could almost hear her laugh in the waves. "Daddy?" I turned. Elizabeth Thornton stood behind me with a young girl, maybe 6 years old. "This is my daughter, Grace. I wanted her to meet the man whose daughter saved our lives." The little girl looked up at me with solemn eyes.
My mommy says Miss Seraphina is an angel who protects sick mommies from bad daddies. My knees weakened. From the mouth of babes, the purest truth. She is, sweetheart. She absolutely is. Elizabeth handed me a card. I'm graduating from social work school next month. I want to work for the foundation, help women like me, like Seraphina. The gala ended at midnight, having raised $9 million. As guests departed, each took a candle, a tradition we'd started. Seraphina's light, we called it, carrying her flame back into the darkness. Standing in my villa afterward, I looked at the walls now lined with photos, not just of Seraphina, but of every woman her story had saved. Elizabeth and Grace, Patricia and her daughter, dozens of faces, each representing a life reclaimed from abuse. My phone buzzed, a message from ADA Winters. Aldrich, 3 more of Ryland's victims have come forward, women he dated before Seraphina. We're building additional cases. He'll never see freedom again. I walked to Seraphina's portrait, the one from her last good day, sitting in this very garden, smiling despite knowing what was coming. You did it, sweetheart. You saved them all. Tomorrow, we'd break ground on the Seraphina Castellane Medical Center, a specialized facility for cancer patients experiencing domestic abuse, the first of its kind in America, built on land adjacent to Mass General where she'd fought her final battle. The ocean crashed below, endless and powerful, washing the shore clean with each wave. Just like Seraphina's legacy, washing away pain, leaving hope in its wake.
5 years later, from his prison cell, Ryland made one last mistake. He gave a jailhouse interview claiming Seraphina lied about everything. That's when I released the video she'd hidden, the one where he admitted he'd killed his first wife the same way he was killing her, slowly, carefully, making it look like cancer took them. The 60 Minutes interview aired on a Sunday night, exactly 5 years after Seraphina's death. Ryland, graying and gaunt in prison gray, still trying to control the narrative. Seraphina was mentally ill from the cancer treatments. She imagined abuse that never happened. I loved her. Aldrich Castellane destroyed my life out of jealousy that his daughter loved me more. I watched from my study at Lighthouse Point, surrounded by photos of the 1,000 women the foundation had saved. My phone rang immediately. Harrison Blackstone. Aldrich. He just violated the terms of his plea deal. No public statements about the case. We can add years to his sentence. I have something better, I said, opening my safe. Inside was one final USB drive, one I'd held back. Seraphina hid one more recording. She was saving it for if he ever tried to hurt other women. The recording was from 2 weeks before she died. Video this time. Ryland, drunk, not knowing she'd hidden the camera. You're just like Jennifer, my first wife. Took her 2 years to die too. Cancer's perfect. No one suspects anything when you're already sick. A little extra pain medication here, withholding antibiotics there. You're number 2, Sarah. There'll be a number 3 after you, and 4. However many it takes to get the fortune I deserve. Seraphina's voice, barely a whisper. You killed Jennifer. Helped her along, just like I'm helping you. Tomorrow's chemo? You're not going. I already canceled it. Told them you wanted to stop treatment. See how easy it is? Harrison's silence on the phone stretched for 30 seconds. Dear God, he's a serial killer. Within hours, the recording was with the FBI. Jennifer Hawthorne's body was exhumed. New toxicology tests with modern equipment found evidence of systematic poisoning that had been missed 5 years earlier. The story exploded nationally. Ryland Hawthorne wasn't just an abuser, he was a calculated killer who used cancer as cover for murder.
The FBI found 3 more women he dated who died of aggressive cancers after changing their wills in his favor. Dear viewers, if you've stayed this long, you understand this isn't just about justice, it's about saving lives. Please, in Seraphina's memory, subscribe and share this channel. Every share might reach a woman in danger. Don't let her story end here. Click subscribe now. Be part of her eternal guardian light. I held a press conference at the Foundation's newest facility, the Seraphina Castellane Medical Center, now treating 200 patients. My daughter knew she was being murdered, but she also knew stopping him would save future victims. She turned her death into a weapon against evil. That's who Seraphina was, a warrior disguised as an angel. The trial for Jennifer's murder added life without parole to Ryland's sentence. He would die in prison, alone, the Harvard charm useless against concrete walls. But that wasn't the real victory. The real victory stood behind me at the press conference. Over 300 women holding candles. Elizabeth Thornton, now the Foundation's director, cancer-free for 4 years. Patricia Morse and her daughter, both counselors at our shelters. Little Grace, now 11, who'd started a support group for children of abuse survivors. Mr. Castellane, a reporter asked, how do you feel about Ryland's life sentence? I feel nothing about Ryland. He's irrelevant. What matters is that the Seraphina Castellane Foundation has opened 50 facilities nationally. We've saved over 3,000 women. We've trained 500 oncology nurses to recognize abuse signs. We've changed federal law to protect vulnerable patients. That's Seraphina's legacy, not her killer's punishment, but the lives she saved. That evening, the Foundation's 5th annual gala brought an unexpected guest. President Morrison arrived to present the Presidential Citizens Medal. Aldrich Castellane turned the worst tragedy a parent can face into a movement that saved thousands of lives. And Seraphina Castellane, who spent her dying days gathering evidence to protect others, represents the best of American courage. As I accepted the medal, I saw her, Seraphina. Not a ghost, but a presence in every saved woman's smile, every child now safe from abuse, every survivor who'd found strength in her story. This belongs to her, I said, holding the medal high. And to every woman fighting to survive both disease and abuse, Seraphina's watching over all of you. The applause was thunderous, but I barely heard it. I was looking at the portrait we'd unveiled. Seraphina in her Yale graduation gown, radiant with possibility, before cancer, before Ryland, when the whole world lay ahead. Later, alone on the widow's walk, I opened the last letter she'd written me, the one I'd finally found courage to read. Daddy, by the time you read this, I'll be gone and you'll know the truth about Ryland. I'm sorry I put you through this, but I need you to understand, my death isn't a tragedy. It's a transformation. I'm becoming something more powerful than a victim. I'm becoming a protector of future victims. Build something beautiful from my ashes. Save the women I couldn't save myself. And remember, every time someone escapes abuse because of my story, I'm alive again. I love you past the moon and stars, forever and always. Your Sarah. P.S. That beach house you always dreamed of, buy it. Fill it with life and love and the laughter of survivors. Make it a lighthouse for women lost in the storm. I'll be in every sunrise. I looked out at the ocean, where the moon painted a silver path across the waves. Lighthouse Point had become exactly what she'd envisioned, a beacon calling the lost to safety. My phone buzzed with a final message from the Foundation. Tonight's gala raised $47 million. The Seraphina International Initiative launches next month. Projected impact, 10,000 women saved annually across 6 countries. I smiled, feeling her presence in the salt wind. Promise kept, my darling girl. Promise beautifully kept. The lighthouse beam swept across the dark water, steady and eternal, just like Seraphina's love. Somewhere out there, a woman in danger would see our story and find courage to escape. Somewhere, a mother would choose her children's safety over her abuser's threats. Somewhere, Seraphina's light would pierce the darkness. And in that light, she lived forever.